Hey you guys, this is Jess with Sourceful Journey, back with another video. I know, it's been a while since I posted, but I wanted to get back into doing it. As I mentioned to you guys before, I've been working on a few things off to the side, and that's been taking up quite a bit of my time, but for good reason. And actually, I will update you guys on some of that information going forward. So other than that, I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a quick ancestry DNA update from my side of the spectrum. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and just jump right in. So story time. To give you guys a quick update in regards to the ancestry DNA side of the spectrum. So if you guys think back to my first video when I talked about the results that came back, prior to all that, it's just funny how the universe works, and there's a reason why I say that. I remember getting these type of notifications, if you will. It was something more so along the lines of the Scottish Rite. Mind you, I never even knew what the Scottish Rite was, why it was formed, none of that. And this is well before I even got my results back in regards to my ancestry DNA. So I kept getting these notifications, would see certain videos, just random stuff popping up. And I'm just like, what is this? You know, so I started looking into the videos. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's Masonic. I'm like, okay, fine, sure enough. Pretty interesting stuff. And I didn't think anything else of it until I went into my Amazon app. This was like maybe a day or so later, I think, if I remember correctly. Then all of a sudden I saw, as far as in my recommendations area, those of you who use the app know exactly what I'm talking about. Just out of nowhere, there's these lapel pins that pop up that had the same exact symbol, the double-headed eagle for the Scottish Rite. And that's what it was aligned with, the actual item that was for sale. I was like, okay, something's up with this, because I didn't do any searching online or anything like that. I never spoke about it with anyone, but I just started noticing these things. I'm like, what is all of this about? So I took it as something to keep in my back pocket. Fast forward, maybe about a week or so later, I finally got my results back in terms of my ancestry DNA. And lo and behold, outside of all the glory in terms of Mother Africa that I was connected to, and of course, the Creole side and all of that here in terms of the states with Louisiana and such, there was also a percentage in there that I did not expect to see, which was the Scottish side. So I'm like, okay, so the universe, you know, God, source, the team is talking to me. They're telling me something I need to know here. So I took it upon myself to do a little traveling. And I went to the state of Texas. And to be more specific, I was feeling drawn to go to Dallas for some reason. Not realizing what I was going to come across next. So as I'm riding around with one of my friends, you know, it's so funny because both her and I, we were just kind of like taking in the sights, because she actually lives down here. So I actually met up with a pal. Hung out, haven't seen her in years, since my college days. And we were like riding around because I told her I wanted to go to some of the sites and kind of like look around and see what's down here. What's the big deal about Dallas? Did not realize I was going to ride past the Scottish Rite Museum and Library. Had the same double-headed eagle on the side of the building. I'm going to actually post some of these images and things up, you guys, on my social media platforms, just so you can see the journey I went through in regards to that. So I was really intrigued at that point. My heart like sunk into my stomach. I said, okay, what are the chances of, again, giving you guys a recap here, of me getting certain things randomly popping up on my screen, on various screens, if you will, not only just YouTube, where it talks about the Scottish Rite, which is something I never knew actually existed. But I did look into it to find out more detail about why did I need to know this. Furthermore, What are the chances that I, again, never doing any type of web searching or talking about it aloud to anyone or even to myself, for that matter, what are the chances of that very symbol popping up as a recommendation under my Amazon app for like a pen, or a couple of pens actually? What are the chances of that ever happening? And I haven't done anything in terms of my my media on my phone to show that I was interested in learning more or seeing more of it, right? Follow me on this. Then what are the chances of me seeing that information before I finally got my results back from Ancestry DNA, which it shows that I have a certain percentage of Scottish in my bloodline? Are you guys following me on this one? What are the chances also that I'm feeling the need to visit this particular state, let alone town within the state, and to come across the very Masonic museum and library that is aligned with the Scottish Rite? If that is not God, if that is not the universe in some way talking to you, letting you know you might want to look into this, or you might want to find out more about this in regards to yourself, then I don't know what is. What is it? So as you guys can imagine, me being the history buff that I am, I love anything and everything with history, especially now knowing that it's a part of my own personal history. I set up an appointment to go into the actual museum. That was an experience like no other. Let me explain why. As you can imagine, the museum is, of course, not fully open to the public for good reasoning. You know, you have to set up an appointment. Excuse me, you guys. I'm up here drinking a drink from Chick-fil-A. The museum is not completely exposed to the public for good reason. But you've set up an appointment. You can go in and actually have a tour. And I did just that. That was such an eye-opening experience. Now, those of us who are more aligned with the spiritual space, especially i.e. those who are more, I guess you could say, empathic, we tend to feel things, like I mentioned before, not only on the physical, but also in regards to like the spiritual side. So for me, you know, when you go into a certain space, you can feel, again, the difference in terms of temperature, energy too. So things that most people can't see with their natural eye, you can feel that or see it too. And it depends. That's a whole nother video. I won't even go into those details. It'll make the video too long. Those of you who know, oh, there's a crow. Yeah, you guys, I say y'all, ooh, starting to sound southern here. You guys might be hearing them chirping in the background. Just to give you a heads up, that's just the birds chirping. It's the crows. But anyhow, I know there was one particular room. No, there were a few actually. And I've been told some stories about what took place there too. So some really interesting stuff. Nothing dark or bad, but you know, it was just very eye-opening stuff. So I remember one particular room. No, there were two. I think there were two particular rooms where I remember I went into this, looks like it was a banquet area, maybe like a huge, no, like a ballroom. It was a ballroom. Excuse me for that. The 212, as I said that, the energy when you walk into that room hits you like a flood. I don't know, because of course they can see you, right? And you know, you can either see or feel them depending on if they really want to make their presence known and to who. But I can tell you that energy it hit me like a flood, like whoa, like really really strong in that one particular room. I really wanted to tell the historian that was giving me the tour, could you give me a moment? Because remember, all this stuff that I was encountering before making it to this point and coming in for this tour, all of it led me up to this point for a reason. And I don't know if that was a way for me to know that I was making the right steps, which I'm starting to think that was probably why. I'm still going to continue further making more steps in regards to this anyhow. 316, as I said that. I think about that. I know I felt that energy, and that's something I could never forget. It was a bit different, but not in a bad way. Furthermore, I remember going into one of the rooms, and I like to call this the decision room. The decision room, meaning this is where, I guess, those who are pledging or who are I guess this is where the group decides on whether one would become a certain degree Mason or Eastern Star, for that matter, because there was a room for the Eastern Stars too. There were 2 separate rooms. I know I felt quite a bit in those rooms as well. That's one of the interesting things. Ooh, that plane is flying close. Whoa. Anyhow, I know there are certain rooms for certain processes, if you will. And it's interesting stuff to witness, to see the actual space, to be in there where so many people have went through that journey to crossing over and becoming a Mason or an Eastern Star. It's very intriguing stuff to learn about that side of history. Now, what's interesting, I had a lot of questions, and I found that the historian was kind of intrigued. He was intrigued by my response, because I think it kind of surprised him that I knew about this detail. I'll explain more about that right now. When I say you guys I'm a true history nerd, I mean I am just that, a history nerd. Those of you who knew me, that currently do know me, but no, Jessica is a nerd for sure, history nerd. So I knew about a lot of the older groups, the older fraternities, organizations, if you will. So talking about like the Knights of Templar, the Rosicrucians, things like that, as an example. And as we were doing the tour, and I was able to take pictures, a lot of pictures. I was really intrigued by a lot of the stuff I saw there. And I was asking him questions, and I mentioned those names. It kind of caught him off guard. Like, how does she know that? I guess most people think that, especially if it's dealing with a particular side that isn't really considered a minority, i.e. Scottish, to hear that come from someone who you could tell obviously is a person of color, it's a bit shocking. Like, wow, they know about that? That was the impression I got off this guy. And he wasn't by all means racist at all, please do understand that, but sometimes people could be a bit ignorant in their own way and don't even realize it. And then when I explained to him that what one of my degree studies was actually history. But what was funny, because granted it was in history, a lot of this information that I am now privy to, that I'm aware of, I did it in regards to my own research. I never even learned this stuff when I was taking up my degree studies for history. But I could tell his response, it was a bit humbling. It was a bit complimentary because I could tell he was really taken aback, like, wow. Because the way he turned around when I had mentioned those groups, he was like, she knows about them? I'm like, yeah, I know about them. I know about as far as their teachings, what they stand on, and how they were often shunned in past because of those beliefs, things like that. Which is interesting because, especially in this day and age, you find a lot of people are now starting to be more aligned with those beliefs. That's the reality of it. But I digress. I say all this to say, overall the experience was a very interesting one. But it's going to continue to keep going because I have another appointment lined up. So 2 things. One of the head directors of the library, from what I understand, his spouse, me and her became very, very close, like buddy buddy. It's pretty funny because she's such a sweetheart. But when I had initially shared my story with her, she was like, wow, like totally surprised, like in terms of how I made it to this point where I came to visit a friend, but yet I still wanted to see this library while being in Dallas. You know, I wanted to still get an experience and see what it had to offer. Excuse me, I had a tongue twister there, you guys. So she was really intrigued. She's like, wow. She's like, you were right. There is no such thing as coincidences. And for all of this to line up in the order that you said it did, which led you to visiting us here now, she was like, I have to say, I'm a believer. She's like, I'm really interested in seeing where this goes for you. But she's like, it's really intriguing. And she's like, looking from the outside in, you know, I would have to say there's no such thing as coincidence. There's a reason why you are here at this point. So they're going to pair me up with, I guess you could say, their top librarian. I guess this is like the guy that has access to a lot of information, and this there's this secret vault that no one can go into without I guess without him being there, if you will. And so I don't know, it will be interesting, but I am looking forward to it because I want to learn more about that side. It's pretty evident, you know, and with some of the details I've heard in reference to the tour, I'm like, there's a huge reason why I'm going through this in terms of this side of the spectrum, and I'm going to go ahead and push it through to the finish line. So that is all in regards to that side of the spectrum with regards to the ancestry DNA. What are you guys' thoughts? Interested in knowing? You can definitely leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm thinking actually about taking it a step further, and I may, just may, visit that actual country myself. Not sure when. That's something that's on my to-do list. Either that, or I'm thinking, so good. I'm thinking Portugal. There's one particular place I want to visit there too. It's amazing how many individuals have ties to that side of the spectrum when it's pertaining to the Scottish side, that is. And let's be honest, not just people of Caucasian descent, obviously, because we know during those times, especially being a woman of color, that miscegenation was taking place then too. Race mixing was taking place then too. Hence is why me being a woman of color, being African American, and having all the blends of the world damn near in my blood, which is why for me a part of it, that line is a part of my story as well. So I really appreciate the warmth and the support that I received while being there. You know, I think it's amazing seeing the response from the individuals when I shared my story in regards to why I felt compelled to visit this place. To hear their response, they were like, oh wow, and they too had to say there is a connection. There's got to be a connection, why this is all lining up for you, and they're excited about seeing what happens too. I think that says something. So rest assured, I will be keeping you guys posted on that part of the journey. But other than that, as always, I am sending you guys with love and light, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, I forgot to mention, I will be starting back consultation soon. Just been so wrapped up with the other projects, like I told you guys, but it's for good reason. Just know that, you'll see. So I wanted to send this quick video out to you guys while I'm just sitting here in the car, just relaxing a bit. But I'm getting ready to go back into work. But other than that, again, I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.